But this is important. Currently, trade on the continent, it's about 15%, and they're trying to push it up to about 60% by 2034. Unfortunately, COVID got in the way of the implementation of the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, and also we see disagreements over tariff reduction and border closures. And so this is something that they're going to have to work hard on. He's going to have to work with Wamkele Mene, the Secretary General of ACFA, to make sure that each country is willing to make the sacrifices that is needed to make this important institution work.
Professor, an unusual move happened this weekend where we have 3 African countries that were not invited to the African Union Summit. Talk about them and the reasons behind this move.
Well, these are the countries that are being punished for violating the anti-coup norm. So it's Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea, and they've been excluded. I think you have to let them in. You cannot shave a man's head in his absence. And if Africa really cares about promoting democracy, then we have to take a bigger look at all the countries that are violating democracy norms, not just the ones that do coups. There are people there at the summit who shouldn't be there if the African Union really cares about promoting democracy. There are countries that violate human rights. There are countries that rig elections. There are countries that extend constitutional mandates illegally, and they are all there. So the coup makers, yes, they are currently on the hot seat, but you got to talk to them, because without talking to them, you're not going to be able to do the reforms that you need to do. But I wish we cast the net a little wider to address other issues that undermine democracy on the continent.
Well, there are other issues, Professor. The issue of food insecurity in Africa, the issue of security in areas like the Sahel region, the DRC, the M23 rebels and all those groups operating there were also mentioned. But the question is, mentioning them, but is there any goodwill and finances to take very swift action to make sure that Africa is food secure and deal with all these insecurity issues we're talking about here?
Well, that's a big question. Are we just talking about these things, or are we really doing the things that are important and necessary to get food security addressed? Part of the food security problem is climate. We see drought in East Africa and the Horn, but also part of it is the effect of Russia's war on Ukraine, and African countries have to decide what they're going to do about these things. But at a very basic level, countries have to invest in institutions, in markets, in agricultural research, and have to take food security seriously. It's embarrassing that we cannot feed ourselves and are always at the receiving end of these kinds of global shocks. So I saw the Ethiopian Prime Minister's speech, and it's a good one. I think Africans have to be able to feed ourselves, to be taken seriously. Otherwise, anytime there's a small problem in the world, it affects us. With regards to the other issues, I think the security issues are important. Problems in the DRC, problems in the Sahel, but also Ethiopia itself. Ethiopia is hosting this summit. It has enormous security challenges, and I hope that they can talk about it. The problem is that a lot of these talks are just people are just too nice, and they don't really address the issues, and everybody's being collegial, and they won't call out the people who are undermining security in these places. For example, you cannot address problems in the DRC without actually confronting Paul Kagame and some of the leaders that are important in determining security in that area. But the AU is not set up to do those kinds of things, and they just talk about brotherliness and let's all have peace and let's all be nice, and those things do not bring peace. You have to address